In 2015, my second book, Stand Out, launched, and I wanted to make sure it was a success. So I started aggressively booking speaking engagements, and by the end of the year, I had done 74. Now, somewhere along the way, possibly during my 3-city speaking tour of Slovakia, where I had laryngitis, I realized that was a few too many. And it was a great thing to be able to speak so much. The reason that we're in this business is that we love it. We love the adrenaline. We love connecting with people and sharing ideas. But at a certain point, you begin to reach the limits of human endurance. And so that's why at the end of the year, I realized I needed to do something differently. I needed to find a different way. And so I embarked on a personal campaign, a quest of sorts, to find out how. I started the process of researching my newest book, Entrepreneurial You. Over the course of that year, 2016, I interviewed more than 50 high 6, 7, and even 8-figure entrepreneurs to really understand the minutiae of their business models. I spoke to people like Michael Port, in fact, who was keynoting yesterday, to try to understand and frankly ask nosy questions about how they made money so that I could learn and potentially share that information with other people. I decided that throughout the course of the year, I would make myself my own guinea pig, taking and applying what I had learned, trying it out, and seeing what might work, and then sharing the results of that. The end result was me writing this book and really experimenting with a lot of different models for revenue streams. Because it's not just the fact that you can't necessarily do so many speeches in one year. It's not necessarily just the wear and tear of the travel. It's also the fact that by diversifying your income streams, you're, number one, making it possible for you to earn more money overall, and also hedging against uncertainty. I mean, you and I know the minute a recession hits, the first thing that goes, unfortunately, is often us. Travel budgets, speakers, conferences, conventions. And so finding a way to balance your portfolio and to create multiple income streams is, I would argue, one of the smartest things that we can do as speakers, one of the best ways that we can invest in our own businesses. So the day after my book launched, Entrepreneurial You, this article came out in Business Insider, and I started talking publicly about all of the different ways and possibilities that people could begin to bring new income streams into their businesses. At the time that the book launched, I actually had 7 different income streams. Now I've increased it since then up to 9, which may sound overwhelming. When I talk to people sometimes, they say, how do you even do that? How do you keep up with it? Doesn't it dilute your focus? And so today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the mechanics, the behind the scenes of what I'm doing and possibilities that you might explore to be able to increase the revenue in your own business. So getting down to brass tacks, what else do I do besides speaking? Well, the other 8 income streams, I'm never a fan of slides with a lot of text on them, but I'm making an exception for this because it bears diving down into it. Coaching and consulting, perhaps like for many of you, are a core part of it. It's also writing books. I do business school teaching part-time, primarily at the Fuqua School of Business at Duke. I bring in affiliate income. Some of you guys may be familiar with that. That's where you cross-promote other people's products that you believe in and then receive a share of the revenue if people buy and generate sales. I have my own online courses, and as of late, I've started doing in-person workshops and also year-long masterminds. These are all different ways that you can explore new business models and bring in additional streams of revenue. Now, a key thing to keep in mind, and one of the biggest objections I hear, is people say, well, 9 income streams, or even just more than one, you're going to be doing too much. How do you keep yourself from being pulled apart and not being good at any of it? And I think the most important point to make here is that you absolutely have to pace yourself. The process for me Even though in 2016, that was when I decided I was going to drill down and really focus on learning about creating multiple income streams, I had actually begun the process a number of years before, perhaps less strategically, but I had an inchoate sense that I needed to create a little more security and stability in my business. And so I had been experimenting with different ways of making money. So the 9 income streams that I developed were actually over a 7-year period. And so I'd like to encourage you, if you're interested in experimenting with this, don't try to take on everything at once. Pick one new income stream per year and really focus on that. Once you get the processes in place, then it's able to essentially go on autopilot and you can add more. But if you try to take on too many at once, it'll almost certainly fail. Another is to make sure that you're creating a flywheel where every piece of your business is actually spinning off to create new opportunities for you. For some people, they say, oh, but if you're doing all kinds of different things, how can you make sure that your attention isn't dispersed? Well, I'm not suggesting that you should be a speaker and a dog breeder and a window washer and an Uber driver. Instead, every piece of the business model that I've created funnels into something else. If someone reads my book, they might be likely to sign up for an online course or hire me for a speech. If someone joins my email list because of a blog post I wrote, they might in turn be interested in joining a mastermind or coming to an in-person workshop. All of those things add up to more than the sum of their parts. And if you construct your business model that way, it can do the same thing for you. So where do you start? This might sound like a lot of possibilities, a lot of information. How do you drill down and figure out what is right for you and your business? The first thing that I want to argue is that we need to focus on the low-hanging fruit. There is a huge tendency, especially in modern society, to focus on the sexy parts, the passive income, the dream of the cash register ringing when you're asleep at night. And when that happens, that is amazing. It is a fantastic feeling to wake up and see money in your inbox. But the honest truth is it takes quite a while to get there. There are a lot of people, a lot of hucksters and charlatans out there that want to charge you 20, 30 grand to help you create an online course, and then they're not going to help you sell it. You have to sell it yourself. And if you don't already have a large pre-existing audience, that is a very difficult thing to do. Instead, if we're looking strictly at ROI, what I advise my coaching clients and the students in my online courses is that you want to focus on what is quick and easy and cheap and ready at hand. And that is to focus on coaching and consulting as your first additional income streams. The reason, number one, it takes zero money to get started. There's no infrastructure. And number two, it doesn't take a large following. You don't have to have a world-renowned brand. What you need to have is a small group of people that know what you do and are willing, through word of mouth, to be supportive of you and tell their friends about you. You can build a very successful 6-figure business, even a high 6-figure business, without a popular name or being widely known, just through being loved by your community that you reach. Now, I was talking about this yesterday at breakfast with a longtime NSA stalwart, and she said, Dorie, if you're going to talk about coaching, you have to tell people, if people have been coaching for a year, if people have been speaking for a year, they can't go around coaching other people how to speak. And so I will say this, yes, if you have been speaking for a year, do not start a coaching business helping other people speak, not yet. However, presumably, if you've been speaking for a year, you've been doing something else with your life before that. And you probably have a lot of other skills, whether those skills are related to Facebook marketing or to closing deals or to mergers and acquisitions or to operating a successful healthcare business. Whatever it is, whatever your true knowledge is, focus there and you can often develop a highly lucrative coaching or consulting practice on the back of that. Now, what comes next? Something that I am a big advocate of, and this is something that people often skip people often skip over, I think to their detriment, is step 2 is what I will call social proof activities. Now you may be familiar with this term from psychology. Robert Cialdini talks about it in his book Influence. But essentially social proof is your credibility. What are the markers of credibility that you have so that other people, when they are looking at you, say, oh, this is a person that is worth listening to? We all know, we feel this every day. Speakers often are viewed as a commodity. They're interchangeable. Oh, this one speaks about innovation, that one speaks about innovation. All right, let's swap them out. Now, that may be true in some cases, but we have to fight against that with every fiber of our being. We need to make sure that we are not viewed as commodities. And one of the best ways we can do that is to increase our credibility, our perceived credibility, to the level that other people feel we are unique and irreplaceable. One of the strategies that I have used to do this is through writing and teaching, which incidentally are 2 income streams. Note that these are not the 2 most lucrative income streams, for sure. In terms of blogging, for about 3.5 years, I wrote regularly between 5 and 10 posts per month for Forbes. At first, I was paid about on average $50 a post. Over time, as I built my following, it grew to about $200 a month. This is not huge money, right? But you do it for other reasons. You do it for credibility and for the brand behind you. If she's good enough for Forbes, if she's good enough for Harvard Business Review, she's good enough for me. Similarly, perhaps the least lucrative thing that I do these days is my business school teaching. But twice a year, I do executive education programs for Duke's Fuqua School of Business. It's one of the top 10 business schools in the country, and the brand has a lot of weight that makes it worth it for me to spend the time, even though it doesn't necessarily generate a lot of revenue. So early on in your careers and in your work building multiple income streams, it's a good idea to over-index on social proof and credibility because it helps everything else. It helps make everything else easier down the road. Now, number 3 is growing your following, making sure that you begin to be known by audiences that are larger than just the people that you're speaking to in the room. Now, there's a number of ways to do this. One of my preferred strategies, because I started my career as a print journalist, was by writing, by blogging for Forbes, HBR, Entrepreneur, Time, etc. But there's other ways. You could do podcasting, you could do videos, all of these things are viable strategies, and eventually they themselves, these channels, might be able to be monetized. You can certainly monetize a podcast or a vlog, but not at first. You have to just recognize that for a long time, you're going to be using it as a brand building and an audience building technique, and it's only later that you can monetize it. Now, the key for all of this is that you don't stop there. You don't stop with a blog reader or a podcast listener or a YouTube subscriber. What you must do, and hopefully you guys know this and are doing it, but I want to emphasize, you must get them to convert to an email subscriber. This is the most valuable thing that you can do because it is your direct channel to them. Your email list is priceless, and it has become a multi-six-figure asset for me every single year. Now, when I appeared on podcasts, what I would frequently do, I did 160 podcast interviews around the launch of Stand Out, and then again for the launch of Entrepreneurial You. At the end of every single one, they'd say, how can people learn more about you? And instead of just, go to my website, I would say, well, I have the Entrepreneurial You self-assessment if people are interested in these topics, and they can get it at dorieclark.com/entrepreneur. Or if I was giving a speech, for instance, you can have a text code where people can type in and text and get your resource. And that is a great way to be able to grow your following and grow your list in the moment when you're in front of people. You can do that, by the way, if you want. Now, number 4, once you have begun to grow your following, is to do what I call scale-based activities. This is where the sexy part comes in. This is the online courses and the affiliate income. And the reason that I'm putting it here, the reason I'm saying do this later, not at the beginning, is that it's very simple, conversion rates. You guys probably are aware from the old days that people would say for direct mail campaigns, 1% to 2% was a really good rate of return, a really good rate of uptake. But that 1% to 2% would make everything worthwhile. Well, 1 to 2%, let's be honest, for online course sales, that would be a dream. The conversion rates, especially now as the market gets more saturated for online courses, is very, very low. If you think about the number of people who would be willing to spend, I'm talking about not a $10 course, but a premium course, would be willing to buy a $2,000 flagship course from you. It's a very small number of people who are both willing and able to do so. And so you have to have a larger list in order to really make it worthwhile for you in terms of your time and effort in creating this course. I also do want to emphasize here, one of the ways that you can make it more sustainable for yourself is being smart about the creation and the cost of it. I created my course, Recognized Expert, which, as you can see, I brought in well over $250,000 from it since it started 2 years ago. It's been great for me. It cost about $1,000 for me to create it. That was the hosting platform, and I made all the videos myself using equipment I bought for about $135 on Amazon with an iPhone. These are beautiful cameras that you have now in your smartphones. You can use them. You don't have to hire expensive people. You don't have to be talked into hiring expensive people to do it. It's about your marketing and about the value of your information. So your scale-based activities would come later as you are building your email list and being able to be in touch with more people. And then finally, again, you can do something that for me is actually one of the most gratifying activities that I do, which I call the premium priced activities. These are workshops and masterminds. For instance, this is a picture that I took last December at a 2-day private mastermind retreat that I did for folks, Jim and Jennifer, who are actually pictured here, right here in the audience. And that was an amazing opportunity to really dive deep and talk about significant business issues with some really cool people. From that, I actually expanded out and am running 2 different masterminds this year, which are high-priced items. But again, you have to have a large enough following to be able to support having people who are both willing and able to opt in at that price point for an offering that they find valuable of yours. As you create that, as you build your infrastructure and pace yourself systematically in terms of how you build out your income streams, that enables you over time to build a truly robust, and I would argue recession-proof portfolio for yourself as not just a speaker, but as an entrepreneur overall, leveraging your intellectual property in a variety of different ways. And so my question to you, as you go through the rest of Influence, as you go back home, as you go back to your home on airplanes, is to think about this question. What will you do differently? Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is that over the course of the next year, think about what one item, what one revenue channel you might be interested in pursuing. If you go deep on it, if you are thorough and thoughtful, you can begin to wrap it in to your offerings and over time steadily add more. And that enables you both to be more able to weather economic storms. It opens up new opportunities for professional growth and opportunities, connecting with new people, and it adds to your bottom line in ways that can be significant. So I believe that in order to be successful, sustainable professional speakers, we need to think about ways that we can really build our own portfolio. That's how we make ourselves recession-proof, it's how we make ourselves future-proof, and it's how we create both a career and a life that we love. Thank you very much.